I have this week had the opportunity to be in Toronto for a week, going through a program called Arrow. Arrow is a leadership development program. So maybe after I'm done, I'll figure out what it means to be a leader. I think at least it is people's hope. And my wife's starting in November, so maybe by the time we're both done, we'll have figured it out. But as we... Oh, I was in Vancouver, not Toronto. Canada. Another country. Sorry, I just offended every Canadian that is about to watch this. No, Toronto. Anyway. No, Vancouver. I am on Vancouver time, so I do apologize. Normally I'm just waking up. But I had the opportunity to be in Vancouver. And a wonderful place. If you ever get a chance to go there, it was a place called Keats Island. There's a whole bunch of small islands, and they're literally, there's 100 people that live on this island, and there were 18 of us in the class, and there were 12 leadership partners that came with us. So we increased the population by like 30%. But it was amazing to see the relationships on this island. So there's Barnabas, there's a conference center there, but everything that takes place on this island is very much about relationships. There's a farm, and everything that they eat, 95% of everything that we ate that week and everything that they eat is grown on the farm. Is made on the farm, is processed on the farm, and the people who run the farm share it with the island. Like, that's just kind of how it operates. You can't, it literally is an island in the middle of nowhere. You have to take a little, when they said water taxi, I had no idea what a water taxi was. It's a tiny little boat, which you should never, ever possibly get the amount of people that we got on this little boat. But as we went there, I got to meet some wonderful leaders and got to make some fantastic friends all the way from as far as South Africa. My friend Aidan from South Africa, some folks from Canada who maybe are less my friends now because I don't know where Toronto is and Vancouver. But and then I had an opportunity to further those relationships as I got to the end of the week. I had an opportunity to spend just Friday night and the beginning of Saturday morning with my brother. We may have made a poor choice on Saturday early morning at 1 a.m. and decided to wake up and watch the rugby semi-final. Probably not the best decision trying to get up for a flight the next morning. Fantastic match, great, wonderful match, but maybe not the best choices in the world. But great to, again, a different type of relationship. And as we think about relationships can be very, very challenging. And if you want to turn to our proverb for this morning, or it's on the screen behind me, looking at what it means to walk in the way of the wise. He who walks with the wise grows wise. Proverbs 13:20. He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. I want to just also, as our foundation this morning, fools does not have to do with humor. Just because someone is humorous doesn't mean they're foolish. And I think sometimes we make that connection, and that was something that for me this week was definitely a revelation to me, that some people are just funny and some people aren't, and that's okay. But humor and laughter is not foolishness. I think sometimes in church we think, well, we can't laugh together because that means we're not serious. We can't laugh together because it means we're foolish. And so then the opposite to that, well, the only way you can be wise is by being super serious and never taking anything lightly. And I think that's a lie that Satan sends to us that says, as Christians, we can't have fun because we're supposed to be wise, but everybody in the world who's foolish, well, they can have as much fun as they want. And that's a lie that the devil wants to bring, I think, even into the lives of Christians sometimes. That we can't have fun, that we can't laugh together, because somehow that is unchristian, or somehow that is foolish. Well, I want to say to you this morning, it's not true. It's not true. I know, I've been to your house, Chuck. I know that that's definitely not true. Because it's important that we come together and we laugh together. And we celebrate together and we encourage one another. And so as I had this proverb this morning, I thought to myself, well, what would be important for us as a church, as Christians, to understand about being wise and doing just that, to walk with the wise, to be in relationship with other wise people? And I said to myself, well, the first and foremost part of this, the beginning of this, is that we must make the decision that we ourselves want to be wise. Like, that's where it begins. It begins with, am I prepared to be wise? And then if the answer to that is yes, what does it mean to walk with others who are wise, and then therefore to grow to be wise? And as I was praying about this, and I was thinking about this, I'm going to invite you to turn where I feel the Lord led me this morning, into Galatians chapter 5. Because I think for us, whether it's us as being wise people and having wise friendships, or maybe seeking those who are wise and our friendships with those who are wise. I don't know if you have many, many friends. Some of us have lots of what we would consider friends. But maybe I want to challenge you to this morning is to look at that group of people and how many of them truly are friends. And then there might be some of us in the room that are like, well, I'm just so busy. I really don't have necessarily time for friends. And I don't really seem to make friends. And what I will say to you is, here's the thing. It's a great thing to some respects that you just don't make friends with whoever, whenever, whatever. But I would encourage you is, what are you really looking for? Because once we know what we're looking for, then it will help us determine who these wise friends are. Galatians chapter 5. A very familiar passage we've preached from here just recently. But I wanted us to look here at Galatians chapter 5. And for some of you, you know this off by heart. The fruit of the Spirit. Verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. This here, in this middle passage here in Galatians, a guide for our life of what it means. What does it look like to be wise? And I truly believe here are some indications of what it means to be wise. To have wise friendships. Our friendships must be through the Spirit of love. That's where it begins. Here we have the fruit, the very first, this very first aspect of the fruit of the Spirit. An attitude of love. And I specifically chose the word attitude of love. Because if we truly have friendships that are wise, they won't just be solely based on the actions of love. Because, friends, I promise you, if that's all we look for in our relationships, is the actions of love, if that's all we look for, then we're going to be sorely disappointed. And friends, I believe that's so often why in our relationship with Jesus, that we miss so much. Because in our relationship with Jesus, we're so often just looking for what He's doing, for what He's going to do. We miss the attitude of love. We miss the intimacy of love. Now, this is one of those aspects that I truly believe is part of that covenantal love, of that covenantal relationship. That relationship between husband and wife and husband. And you might be like, well, I'm not married. Well, I'm telling you now that please listen to this, because it will save you a lot of heartache before you do. Because if you know it now, if we know that's what we're looking for, if we know it's more than just the actions, when it comes to our friendships and our wise friendships, we will know that the attitude of love is so much more than actions. It is about an intimacy that goes so much further and so much deeper. So to be wise in our friendships we must have a foundation of love. Secondly, to be wise in our friendships, we must have that second aspect of the fruit of the Spirit, and that which being joy. If you have a friendship and you are just not excited to hang out or be a part of that friendship, then I would challenge you. Is that a good friendship? I would challenge you that there are many, many friendships that we have that are what I class as joy-sucking friendships. Not my phrase. I learned that a long time ago. This idea of we have so many friendships that just suck the joy right out of us. We're like, I'm so drained after having this. I've got to go out with this person again because I feel so guilty because it's been like 3 months and I haven't said anything. And what I want to challenge you is that a healthy, wise relationship? Are we growing in wisdom through that? I would probably hasten to say probably not. Many of us have relationships that suck the joy right out of us. It's kind of like going to the dentist. You have that trepidation as you walk into that because you know something's coming, and then when you come out, you're like, I'm really numb. And like, it was the worst possible thing I've ever been at. And friends, I want to challenge you to grow in wisdom through wise friendships. They cannot be joy-sucking friendships. I'm not saying that friendships are not hard. I'm not saying that you're not going to go through stuff as friendships. Now let me come quickly to the covenantal relationship. Because here's where so many people get it wrong. They go, well, I'm just in this relationship, this covenantal relationship, and it's not doing it for me, and it's not. Friends, no. You are now in a covenantal relationship. Work on your joy. Work on your joy. Do you have joy in the person that you have a covenantal relationship with the Lord? And if you don't, make it work. See, that's the nice thing with friendships is, if it's sucking joy out of you, then you can get out. A covenantal relationship, you make it work. And you figure it out. Because God doesn't join us together and then say, oh, sorry. Because the problem is, friends, that what people do, even in Christian circles, they go, well, I'm in this covenantal relationship and it's not really working, so what am I going to do? I'm going to just throw that covenantal relationship away. I might start another one, but all you're really doing is switching one set of problems for another set of problems. Another messed up person for another messed up person. Another sinful person for another sinful person. So this is where the difference starts. To have wise covenantal relationships, we need to work on the joy together. And if you're starting to suck the joy from somebody else, you know it. And the relationships that we have with others, in the relationships that we have as we grow, I would challenge you, if it's sucking the joy out of you, then is it a good relationship? Is it one that is helping you grow in wisdom? Thirdly, peace. The third aspect of the fruit of the Spirit is that of peace. Now, I've heard so many times people go, well, I can't be friends with you because I don't agree with you. Well, friends, that is not the definition of what peace is. Peace is the absence of conflict. It is not the absence of disagreement. And the problem is, so many of us think, oh, well, if we disagree and we argue, that's completely conflict. No, that's not what I'm talking about. We define conflict very differently. Because conflict can mean so many different things. When I see conflict, I look at one person who is thinking all about their own needs beyond somebody else. That's true conflict. You can take it from war to just conflict between two people, to whatever. But disagreement can be done in love. If you have ever been, well, you have been because we've been here for a while. You know, my wife and I don't always agree. I know it's hard for some of you to understand that and to appreciate that and to even believe it can happen, but it does on many, many occasions. And as we think about this, as we think about what it means to disagree, even in silly things like if I were to say right now, what time is it? I would say it's 11:45. My wife would say it's 11:44. I don't care. What difference does a minute make? It's 11:45-ish. I had a thing on my watch. I have one of these little like fancy Versa Fitbit things. And there was like a watch face that had the ish time. And so it was like 11:45-ish, or almost 12. That's how I talk. I'm an almost 12 type person. Some of you are like, no, it's 11:57. It's 11:57. Oh, now it's 11:58. That's a disagreement. That's not a conflict. And friends, we have to understand as we think about what it means to grow in wise relationships and to walk as wise people together, we must have disagreements. And you might be like, whoa, why must we? We must be because you're two different people. And two different people that think differently about different things are going to have disagreements. It's similar to a covenantal relationship. Two people who are in covenantal relationship together are going to disagree. They're going to disagree. And it always concerns me when people say, well, we never argued. I love the people that say we never had conflict. And I've sat down with the senior commissioner many, many times who shared that like he and his wife just didn't have conflict. They just didn't. And for me, like, wow, what a something to strive towards. Something to strive towards, to look at. But did disagreement come? Does disagreements come? Do disagreements come? Yes. Because it concerns me when people say they don't have disagreement. It means that one person isn't thinking. Because for us to sharpen one another, we must have different understandings about things. We must discuss things. We must look at things, but it's still in the fruit of the Spirit. The fourth aspect of a wise relationship is that of patience. Patience. I don't know about you, sometimes we can be the most patient people ever. And then other times, patience disappears. And friends, I would challenge you with this, and this is just from my own personal experience. But I would just challenge you, the next time you lose patience, take a step back and just see if it has more to do with an error on your part or you not understanding something rather than really what you're impatient about. Because so often that's where it comes from. A lack of patience. To be patient with one another. To be kind with one another. The fifth aspect. To be kind with one another. Friends, I pray that your relationships, that the friendships that you have, the covenantal relationships that you have, I pray that you want to be kind to that person. And not kind in a like, oh, let's save the tree in the backyard, or let's do something nice together, or let's, like not something that's kind of what I call airy-fairy, kind of just out there. You don't use that phrase, obviously. No. I'm trying to think of it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You get on it. What I'm saying when it comes to kindness is that I intentionally want to do something kind. But so often that's what we do, don't we? We go, oh, I want to do something kind for you, rather than have the attitude of kindness. So often when it comes to relationships, we go to the default of actions. And friends, to have wise relationships, we need to have the attitude of kindness. And what I mean by that is kindness in the way that we speak. Kindness in the way that we share something. It goes on, doesn't it? Not just kindness in these aspects of the fruit of the Spirit, but goodness and faithfulness and gentleness. Kindness and gentleness here. Speaking the truth in love. It's scriptural. How often are we caught in our relationships being unwise by not speaking the truth in love? And for some of you, as soon as I say that phrase, you automatically gravitate to one of two words. You gravitate towards truth, or you gravitate towards love. And the problem is, friends, we have to do both. We have to do both. Some of us are very good at speaking the truth, but we're a joy sucker in how we share it. We just are. We're just not very good at communicating truth. We don't have a good way of putting it over. But then for some of us, we think we have to love somebody so much that really we don't have to necessarily always speak truth, because it might hurt somebody's feelings. And friends, we can't do one without the other. Otherwise, we're in unwise relationships. I'm sure all of you, at some point, have wrestled with the question, when somebody says, "Does this make my butt look big?" Almost everybody has had that question asked to them. My wife, not necessarily very lately or ever. I'm digging a hole here. I can feel I'm digging that hole. I'm digging that hole. I'm digging that hole. But we've all had that question asked to us, almost all of us anyway, at some point, or something related to that. That we're always like, I don't know how to speak the truth. One more. Or what would I say? How would I say that? What would I do? How would I... Friends, if we have wise relationships, and we have love and joy and peace and patience, then kindness and gentleness will be so much easier. Because it's not just one or the other. It's every aspect of a holistic, wise relationship. Goodness. I'm going to go back to goodness. I know I skipped over a little bit here. Kindness and gentleness kind of go together. Goodness. Friends, if a relationship is not good, get rid of it. We do it in gardens all the time. If something's not good in your garden, you get rid of it. Or you think, it'd be a really good idea if we pulled all the weeds so we could let the plants grow. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I just think about it and think it'd be nice if somebody else could come and get rid of the bad stuff. But we do it all the time. We allow things to fester in relationships that make them unwise. Friends, if there's something bad, get rid of it. And you might be like, well, Captain, that's super easy to say, and for some of us, friends, I'm just going to say it. Some of us have superhero complexes in our friendships. We have superhero complexes because we believe if I'm part of this friendship, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. And friends, just in my limited experience, it doesn't. Because we can't fix it. Jesus can fix it. Jesus can fix it. But I would challenge you, is that truly a friendship? Or is it more an acquaintance? Is it someone you're investing in? And I challenge you that if you're just investing in somebody, then I don't know whether it's a true definition of what this is speaking about here in Scripture, of having wise friendships that we can grow in. Friends, for things to grow, for good things to grow, it needs goodness. We had an opportunity to go and see Larry and Nancy Robertson's garden. It is the most amazing garden I have ever seen. And I'm not joking. Their tomato plants are like this big. It's incredible. I've never seen tomato plants. And I said to Larry, how do you grow this? Like, you must have some special something. Or there must be something. He said, no. I said, or do you grow them from year to year? Is this like a 20-year-old like tomato plant? He's like, every year. No, brand new, every year. He's like, we just use we prepare the ground properly. We use the best stuff. We use the Miracle Grow, and we use the compost, and we use the watering, and we water it on a regular basis, and we give good things so they can grow. And friends, we don't do that in our relationships. Jesus wants us to grow in our relationship with Him, but He also wants us to grow in our relationship with others. But if we're not investing in the good things, then it's going to be very challenging for us to grow. Faithfulness. Faithfulness, another aspect of the fruit of the Spirit. I would challenge you that in your relationships, faithfulness is something that is so key. Because faithfulness goes with trust. And trust goes with faithfulness. And when trust is lost, trust is very hard to get back. Not impossible. Not impossible. But trust is very hard to get back. Gentleness, and then finally, self-control. And this is where I struggled. I'm like, well, how does self-control work with friendship? Like, all those other fruit make a lot of sense. You know, the attitudes and the actions and the holistic nature of what it means to be in wise relationships. But how does self-control work? And here's where I believe it works, friends. In our covenantal relationships and our regular relationships, self-control is simply this: to be content. To be content. Our relationships, for us to grow and be wise, we must be content. Not fear of missing out on something else that may be better around the corner. Not a discontent of, well, maybe that person is just, they don't really mean that. Or maybe there's an ulterior motive there. Friends, to have wise relationships, to be a wise friend, we must be content with all these aspects of what it looks like to be in relationship. To have the fruit of a wise relationship. The only way we can do this, friends, is by utilizing and accessing the power of the Holy Spirit, who provides this for us in the first place. Because I don't know about you, as I was preparing this, I was like, I am a terrible friend. I am a terrible friend. And then I started to think, man, do I even have any friendships that are like this? And I seriously had to sit down and go, God, what does it mean to have a true friend? To truly understand that proverb. To truly understand what it means to walk with the wise. Again, Proverbs 13 verse 20, he who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. What is a fool? Well, the opposite to all of the other stuff. A fool is the opposite to all the other stuff. It's the one who takes love but doesn't give in return. Who takes joy, but doesn't give in return. One who is not gentle or patient, but one who is rude and prideful. Again, though, remember and understand these proverbs are only proverbs in the light of the promise. So what is the promise? What is the promise? The promise is that we have the fruit of the Spirit. We have access to the fruit of the Spirit. We have the opportunity to share with others and experience with others the fruit of the Spirit. So then, in light of that promise, the proverb is simply our decision as wise people to have friendships with other wise people to grow to be wise. And so maybe this morning, as we've had just a few moments to look through what it means to be a wise friend and have wise friends, maybe there are friendships in your own life that you need, that you know they need to either alter or they need to go away. And friends, some of us, when I talk about relationships, for some of us we have relationship with unwise people, but some of us, we have relationship with unwise things. We have relationships with unwise things. Maybe material possessions. Maybe the unwiseness of coveting what is not ours. The unwiseness of having a relationship with a computer screen. Or having a relationship so in depth with our jobs or our positions that is sucking all the joy out of our relationships. Maybe it's the unwise relationship of an addiction to drugs, to alcohol, to pornography. Maybe it's the unhealthy relationship, the unwise relationship with somebody at our workplace. Maybe it's an unhealthy relationship even with things that are good. Maybe we have an unhealthy relationship with our mother and our father. An unhealthy and an unwise relationship with our children. And you might be like, well, how can I have an unwise, unhealthy relationship with my children? Because friends, so I've seen it both ways. Especially lately, seeing a son move up to middle school and being part of all these like mum and dad blog things. Where it's like, just let your kid figure it out at some point. Like they're going to have to in life. You have to let them go. Knowing that the Lord is there. Maybe as children, having an unhealthy relationship with parents. Of relying on them so much that I just can't let go. What is it for you today? What is your unwise relationship? Because friends, if wise relationships help us grow, then I guess you can write your own proverb. Unwise relationships, well, they don't help you grow. They don't help you grow. I'm going to ask Rochelle to come and just to play some music for us as we take a moment. As we take a moment to look internally, to say, am I being wise in the way I live? Am I really, really, truly exhibiting the fruit of the Holy Spirit? And then in turn, The second thing to look externally. Am I prepared to cut off some relationships that are unhealthy and unwise? And maybe for some here this morning that are married, in that covenantal relationship, to say, man, we've got some stuff to work on. We've got some stuff we've got to work on. That fruit of the Spirit, that sounds so fantastic, and we've got to work on this. And so often we used to have it, and why don't we have it anymore? And friends, I think it's because as in a covenantal relationship, we've stopped growing and we've stopped being wise. We've stopped being wise. We've stopped seeking the Spirit. We've stopped praying together. We've stopped reading Scripture together. We've stopped conversing together. We've stopped communicating together. And so I'm going to invite you, as difficult as it may be in any of those three circumstances, personally, with friendships, in a covenantal relationship, maybe this morning is an opportunity for you to say, yeah, like today I want to start. I want to start today. And friends, you might have the most amazing relationship in the world. Whether that's a covenantal relationship or a relationship with a friend, and yet still, this morning, you just want to commit one more time and say, God, I want to continue to grow to be more wise. Scripture speaks about iron sharpening iron. And friends, that's great when we get to the end, but that can be painful in the process. And so friends, this morning, maybe there's a bit of painfulness that we have to go through. Maybe you're fed up of having the joy sucked out of your life. And you need the joy of the Spirit this morning to come and renew and refresh. Maybe you need to come and you need to kneel. Maybe as friends you need to come and you need to kneel and say, God, we want to continue to grow. Maybe as an individual you need to just come and say, God, whatever it is in me, I want to exhibit the fruit of the Spirit. Maybe you want to come as a couple. And maybe you've never ever knelt together outside of when you got married. Or maybe you didn't even kneel together when you got married. But maybe you need to come and you just need to kneel together. Kneel at this place and say, God, whatever it is, we want this. We want the fruit of the Spirit in our covenantal relationship. Not covenantal relationship with each other, but our covenantal relationship with you. Because that's truly what a covenantal relationship is. Yeah, it's with each other, but it's before the Lord. So maybe you want to come and you want to kneel. You want to use this place of prayer together. Maybe you want to just sit where you are and pray for the Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit, to be a part of your relationship. So Rochelle's going to play, and as she plays, I'm going to invite you to respond.